if it weren't for the last year, this would be one of the worst government-caused calamities, mistakes, dumbasseries in the history of our country. And it just so happens that right now it's like the B-side, but it's on the same 45 record, if you know the reference I'm making from back in the day. But it's the B-side right now because we serve a government that wants to let a bunch of COVID-infected people in while claiming we still have to wear triple masks and maybe the kids can't go back to school or you can't sit outside in a stadium. As we told you yesterday, Monday was the first time in a statewide desert known as Nevada that you could go to a park and play pickup basketball. Meanwhile, you could sit in the lung dart haven known as the casinos for months and months and months and months and months. And who was the gentleman we had on from the Federalist last week? I want to make
John Daniel Davidson.
Thank you. I thought he made an excellent point that I want to reset for you here on this show, but I wanted to make sure we weren't given credit for it. This was his observation. In fact, he actually gave us this answer while checking my question. Because what I asked him was, is this actually operating the way that was intended? Are they we just had the Cloward Piven presidency under Barack Obama. And again, for those of you that don't know, or you remember that term in the Obama years, Cloward and Piven were two married professors, I believe at Columbia University, where Barack Obama attended. And their plan was essentially to wreck the constitutional system, that Americans would never voluntarily give up on their own because everybody was way too free and prosperous with it. All right. So they knew the American people would never give this up on their own. So their plan was to just, it's the Rahm Emanuel statement, never let a good crisis go to waste, just create a series of crises. And this is why you see left media and spirit of the age messaging, everything is a crisis. This is why everything is a crisis, in the hopes that these crises create a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you go back to Obamacare with the public option, and everybody said at the time, well, that'll destabilize the health insurance industry. And some of us said at the time, that's exactly what it's designed to do. It's designed to be a bridge, to get you to single payer, to say, hey, why would I pay United or Principal or Blue Cross this premium when I can just pay Uncle Sam a cheaper premium for, it's maybe a little less coverage or a higher premium, but unless I'm dying of a heart attack, I'm not really worried about it, and I'm going to save a boatload of money, I'll just deal with Uncle Sam. It was meant to do that. That was the point of it. And then when the public option became politically untenable, they couldn't get Obamacare passed, even with a filibuster-proof Democratic Senate. They couldn't get Obamacare passed with the public option because that was such an obvious Cloward Piven play. They just loaded it up with regulations that would eventually cause our premiums to skyrocket anyway. That's, as the Joker said, all part of the plan. It's part of the plan. This is on purpose.
We're not watching flaws. We're watching features.
Yes, they're not bugs. That's right. This is the reboot. This is the way it's supposed to work. Okay. And so you do this with everything. You want to reset, pardon the expression. Then you create a series of crises that become untenable. And therefore you force people to accept an option that without the existence of a crisis, they would have never accepted at face value, because it's a crap deal. It's a crap sandwich. And so I asked John Daniel Davidson over at the Federalist, now that Biden is in office, this is essentially the third term of Barack Obama, is this the Cloward pivoting of the border? That, hey, you want open borders, show that it's unenforceable. And his answer to me in disagreeing with me was brilliant and caused me to rethink my own viewpoints of what's going on down there. He said that won't work here. Because when you get into the situation with government systems and trying to override them to generate a different outcome, that's a one-on-one transaction between you and your government, between a state and the government, between you and the state, all right, between a local government and the state government. It's a one-on-one transaction. There's no variable there. And so it's easier to control the chaos, to guide the herd where you want it to go, to trample the land. But when you're dealing with the border, it's loaded with outliers and variables. And now you're herding cats. You can't do it. Because the reality is, and he said this is what this crisis has exposed. Because this is a legitimate crisis. He says what this one has exposed is that it's not a one-on-one, the government just won't defend the border for cheap labor. We're not in control of the southern border. Drug cartels, human traffickers, and a series of other third parties are de facto in control. And they operate outside the jurisdiction of the one-on-one transaction between you and your government. And what this process of saying, all come hither, has exposed now. You guys heard me on the phone with my buddy Congressman Chip Roy this morning, coming into the office. He was just down at the border again yesterday and just ran into more migrants that are fleeing human traffickers. That's what this has exposed. This has brought this all now to the forefront. That we're not in control. That it's not just a cynical, ha ha ha, we look the other way while the cheap labor just comes across the border. That the percent of that compared to the drug mules, compared to the human traffickers, compared to the ne'er-do-wells, there's at least, and I don't know if it's 10% are bad actors, 20%, 50, 80. I have no way of knowing. I don't know that, frankly, we may not know. But there is some percentage of bad actors that are in de facto street justice sort of gangland style in control. Like an old mobster movie where they still had mayors and sheriffs and chiefs of police, but it was really the Don in the corner that was really running the town, right? That's what the southern border is. And so when you take away those restraints, all of this now is being brought to the surface. And what's happening there is criminal. And it goes even beyond the crime against us as a sovereign people. That's terrible enough on its own. But to dangle this in front of these folks who think that, this is still the best place in the world to live, man. I'd do a lot of things to get the hell out of Honduras and live here instead, wouldn't you, with your family?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And to dangle this out there in front of these people who then go there to get their daughters kidnapped, raped, sold into human trafficking, it's so freaking evil that this goes even beyond the crime against our own national sovereignty. This has become a crime against humanity, guys.